Number 3. The French man with severe hydrocephalus. In the early 2000s, a middle-aged man in France visited a hospital for what seemed like a minor problem. He complained of mild weakness in his leg. Doctors expected a routine diagnosis. To be safe, they ordered a brain scan. What appeared on the screen stunned everyone in the room. The scan showed that the majority of the man's skull was filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Only a thin layer of brain tissue remained pressed against the inside of the skull. In medical terms, this was the result of long-standing hydrocephalus, a condition where fluid slowly builds up and compresses the brain. At first glance, the image looked incompatible with life. According to standard neurological understanding, damage of this scale should result in severe cognitive impairment, inability to live independently, loss of normal motor function. But this man didn't match those expectations. He had lived a mostly normal life. He held a steady job, he had a family, he functioned independently in society. How this was possible? The key detail wasn't how much brain tissue was lost. It was how slowly it happened. The compression occurred gradually, likely beginning in childhood. Because the brain wasn't damaged suddenly, it had decades to adapt. Functions that would normally be tied to specific regions were redistributed. Neural pathways reorganized themselves over time. The brain didn't regenerate, it compensated. Why this case matters? Doctors published the case because it challenged a fundamental assumption that a certain volume of brain tissue is required for normal life. This man proved that structure matters less than adaptability. His case remains one of the strongest demonstrations of human brain plasticity ever recorded. Number 2. Ahad Israfil. In 1989 in Texas, a 14-year-old boy named Ahad Israfil was caught in a violent incident. He was shot in the head at close range. The bullet entered one side of his skull and exited the other. Doctors believed survival was unlikely. The immediate damage: the gunshot destroyed large portions of Ahad's right cerebral hemisphere. He lost the ability to speak, he lost movement on one side of his body, he lost control over basic functions. Medical professionals prepared his family for permanent disability if he survived at all. An unexpected turn. Against expectations, Ahad lived, but recovery was slow and uncertain. For months, he remained unable to speak. Simple actions required immense effort. Yet something began to change. The brain begins to adapt. Over time, Ahad started regaining abilities that should not have returned. Speech slowly reemerged, movement improved, cognitive function stabilized. The left hemisphere, typically responsible for different tasks, began taking over responsibilities lost with the right side. This process wasn't fast, it took years. A normal life redefined. As an adult, Ahad went on to graduate college, hold employment, live independently. He still had limitations, but his level of recovery far exceeded what medical science predicted. His case became widely cited in discussions of neuroplasticity. Doctors took this seriously. This wasn't a vague anecdote. Ahad's injury, scans, and recovery were documented and followed for years. His survival demonstrated that even after catastrophic trauma, the brain can reorganize itself in ways that challenge rigid models of localization. Number 1. Living with half a brain, hemispherectomy survivors. In rare medical situations, doctors intentionally remove or disconnect half of the brain. This procedure is known as a hemispherectomy. It is typically used to treat severe, uncontrollable epilepsy in children. The idea sounds extreme, and it is. The risk: removing one cerebral hemisphere carries enormous risks: paralysis, loss of speech, loss of vision, cognitive impairment. For most adults, the procedure would be devastating, but in children, something unusual happens. The surgery. In the 1990s and early 2000s, several pediatric patients underwent hemispherectomy after all other treatments failed. In these cases, seizures were life-threatening. Doctors had no alternative. The surgery removed or disconnected an entire hemisphere of the brain. What happened after? Initially, patients showed expected deficits, but over months and years, many regained surprising levels of function. Children learned to walk, speak, read, attend school. Some went on to live relatively independent adult lives. Why children are different? The explanation lies in brain development. In early life, the brain is highly flexible. Neural circuits are not yet fixed. Functions are not permanently assigned. When one hemisphere is lost, the remaining hemisphere reorganizes itself. It takes on tasks it was never designed to perform. A medical reality, not a miracle. Doctors are careful to emphasize that these patients are not unchanged. They often live with physical limitations, but the fact that any complex cognitive life is possible with half a brain challenges deeply held assumptions. These stories don't suggest the brain is indestructible. In most cases, brain injury permanently alters lives, but these rare, well-documented cases reveal something uncomfortable. The brain is not a rigid machine. It is a system capable of adapting in ways we still don't fully understand. And that means our definition of what is required for a normal life may be far less fixed than we believe.